Hello again. I'm John Payne, physical therapist,
And I'm Kellie Witten. I'm also a physical therapist.
and we work at Little Squirts Pediatric Therapy Services. And this is our podcast, Little Squirts Big Questions. And we are unraveling the potty puzzle here. So, part 4 we're working on is a little bit more than mechanical maze. Last episode, we talked about the sensory piece and things that might be going wrong when those signals may not be working quite right. But today, we're going to dive into what we consider our realm. Like, this is our wheelhouse as far as like solving what could be going on a mechanical side of things. And we've got some really cool things to show you, some equipment that Kellie uses during her sessions to help kids understand their muscles and what's going on. But let's dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, what's happening on the physical side of things with the pelvic floor when kids are having issues?
Yeah. So when we look just at the pelvic floor itself, we often are seeing that we kind of talked about this before, but it's too tight or it's too stiff. It's really good at just kind of holding and staying tight all the time, but it's not working well through its range of motion. Sometimes it doesn't have good endurance, so it can't turn on and stay on and hold well. And then another usually really big piece is kind of the mobility or how well it's moving and relaxing. So a kid can't fully relax well or can't sustain that, and it doesn't have good motion, so it's not moving through its full range of where it's turned on and where it's off.
Yeah. How do you go about assessing that? How do you, it's on the inside, right?
Yeah.
Like what are some of the testing techniques that you use to figure that out?
Yeah. So oftentimes you can tell what it's doing just based on how the kid is kind of standing, their posture. You can look at their diaphragm because breathing is really closely linked to the pelvic floor. So we have kind of the diaphragm is the top of our sort of rib cage, kind of our top of our canister, and then the pelvic floor is the bottom. And so when things are working well, they should be parallel, like right in line. And when the diaphragm moves and expands, the pelvic floor has to kind of respond to that. So they kind of move in tandem. So if we're not getting good movement at our diaphragm when we're breathing, we're not probably getting good movement at our pelvic floor.
I think of like a trampoline. If I'm jumping on a trampoline, when I jump on it, that trampoline has to go down, right? It has to accept that load that's coming down, but then it also has to like spring back up.
Exactly.
And pushes that back up towards the diaphragm. So we've got like this give and take. Whoever's jumping inside the pelvic floor, I don't know that, like pressing on that floor, but it's typically like those pressures that I think everyone can identify with feeling pressure inside their core.
Yeah. And you can also look at the hips. So I think of so we talked about the pelvic floor as kind of like a hammock in between our pelvis. So I think of like the hips as kind of like two trees that our hammock is in between. So if those trees are turned in or turned out, that's going to place tension or pull on that hammock. It's going to tighten it up and pull it in different ways. We see kiddos who like to sit in a W position, which actually is tilting their hips in, or if their toes are turning in, those trees are tilting in, and that's actually putting tension on that pelvic floor. So it's harder for it to relax and move because it's constantly being pulled.
So even as I'm looking at their standing, you can just kind of get an idea and be like, that makes me suspicious of some tightness already.
Also looking at their spine, like if they have a hard time sitting in an upright posture, there's some muscles that attach there that are linked to our hips. And so if there's pull there, that's kind of telling us too that like things are probably tight in there because they can't elongate and straighten all of that.
Right. And that diaphragm's right at that kind of mid-thoracic level too, or maybe lower, lower thoracic, but mid to lower.
So we look at the rib cage quite a bit too. That tells us position of rib cage again, how the diaphragm is working. We can get even more into the pelvic floor. We can do like everything we do is external, especially with kids, but you can just do like a visual assessment of can they turn that muscle on? Can they like bear down and stretch it out? And so how you see that externally is you're looking at the anus. Just visually. But another way that we can do it, because kids are understandably not always comfortable with that. So that's not always.
I'll be the first to admit.
Right. So there's another way, and I use parents a lot for this. It's called biofeedback. So we'll put stickers externally on the pelvic floor. So we put them on the bottom, again, right on either side of the anus, and then it hooks up to a computer. We can have the kids practice kind of with some coaching, turning on muscles, relaxing that pelvic floor, and they can watch what happens on the screen.
Okay.
So the machine uses these electrodes and it just reads the activity of the muscle, what's happening at the muscle.
And we have that
it so we can show it.
For those that are watching, we'll describe it if you're not able to watch.
And again, like if the kids aren't comfortable, like I will walk parents through like how to put the stickers, where to put them. And so it can really be like there's not much of that. We want kids to feel comfortable, but that's really one of the best ways to retrain it is because it gives kids that visual.
And during this
What's really
process,
happening.
they're not sitting there panic.
No, they're
Like
either, I mean,
wireless electrodes.
yeah. So oftentimes they put them on, they're under a towel. The parents will, I'll coach the parents how to put them on. Sometimes they'll even step out of the room and then based on their comfort level, they can pull everything back up. And so they'll be fully clothed. They just have some wires
hanging out of there.
Hanging out. But yeah, we're not attached. So we can even get up and move around. I mean, we're attached to the computer. Well, in terms of looking at the screen, but they with the thing on, I guess I could even show it for those people who are watching, is it's just a little unit here and it's free. I actually have the wires on right now, but you can get up and move around. It's got a little belt clip. So
it's like the old school iPods.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, let's take a peek at that.
Okay.
And see.
So let's get it up here. Okay. So this screen that we're looking at is really more of like what I see on the computer from the physical therapist standpoint. So I have like a fancy setup with an additional screen. That's more like child oriented. So there's actually some different animations and like games, so to speak, that kids can choose.
Like hot air balloon on one.
Yep. So they're making the balloon, they're making it go up and down. But this is kind of what you can see. It's reading the muscle activity. And we're doing this on a more superficial muscle. So it's a little bit more sensitive, but you'll still be able to get the idea.
So you got, what numbers are you looking at? You got on the one side, you have
so
up and down axis.
Yeah. The up and down axis is how much the muscle is working, basically how much it's turning on. And then the bottom is seconds. So that's telling us like how long they can sustain or hold something, either hold a contraction or hold how long they're relaxing. So what you can see is like if the muscle is turned on like this, so I'm contracting my muscle, it makes it go up. And then when I try and relax, it goes down.
Yeah. So you're just seeing that nervous activity.
And you can see based on like how smooth the mountains are. Like if a kid has a hard time turning on and contracting a muscle, like maybe it'll be kind of like movements like this will be all over the place. It'll be like on and off. Really, we're looking for like a nice, they can turn it on really quick and kind of hold it up there and then let it come down really quickly and easily, like that kind of more straight line down.
Because sometimes you want to see if they can hold the relaxation, right?
Yeah, we want to get them fully relaxed and holding it. And we'll work on that a lot in like our ideal toileting posture, which we can talk about in a minute, of like, can I sit on the way I would sit on the toilet and relax those muscles to be able to avoid.
Yeah. So it's just a great visual for them to like, we talk about interoception, right? That sensory piece. So they can visually see through a game what's going on with their muscles and then control that game with their muscles.
Yeah. And in that process, we're retraining those muscles. It's pretty cool to see like some kids, it's really, it only takes a couple sessions of this for them to really like find those muscles, improve that awareness, improve the control.
Yeah. No, that's super cool. And I've never played video games with mine. So,
right. There's a first time for everything. The things you never thought you would do.
I doubt the kids go back to school and be like, I got this great game.
No, they do talk about sharing with their siblings and being like, guess what I got to do. A lot of them think it's pretty cool and silly, but a lot of kids just love to learn how their bodies work. So
and I think the visual piece is really important because I'm a visual learner and I know if I can like see it and then make that connection, it's like being able to feel it and see what's actually happening with it. It's another tool that really helps me ground what it is I'm trying to learn. So I think that's a huge piece for kids to understand that contraction, relaxation, whatever. So very cool. Well, so well, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's a really cool piece of equipment. So I'm sure that's super helpful.
Yeah, it is really helpful. And I mean, it's just one of our tools in our toolbox. It's not that or anything. There's lots of different things that we do. That's just a piece of it.
Yeah, and I recognize you're not in there like the whole time. So like, what are you doing the rest of the time?
We do a lot of kind of like mobility stuff, and breathing is a huge thing. So again, we want to get that pelvic floor moving well and being able to relax, especially in those kiddos who maybe have constipation or withholding. So we're working a lot on how is their diaphragm moving within that, like is their rib cage moving well? Sometimes we need to get the rib cage and the spine moving better before we can even really address the muscle piece. We have to get the other structural pieces moving well. We work a lot on like core and hip strength because everything is so closely connected in that area, and it all has to work well together. So if we're dominant in one muscle, then the other muscles aren't necessarily doing their job. So we want everything to be working equally and to be able to coordinate. Sometimes too, it's about training, especially the core muscles, how do we push our poop out in a way that's not just like holding everything, like And we talk about bearing down, which isn't necessarily good. So bearing down, you're more like holding your breath and pushing
Mhm.
really hard. That's you're not allowing that pelvic floor to stretch out and relax when you do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So it's about teaching them how do I
Sho
still turn,
shoving it
yeah,
all out
right? Like how do I
forcefully. Yeah.
relax my pelvic floor while also using my core muscles to kind of help push things out.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, and we also work on things like balance. So even though it's like, what? My balance works my pelvic floor, any of those things where you're on kind of an unstable surface, your core is the base for being able to keep your balance on that.
Yeah.
Um, and it's pretty amazing to see when kids have a pelvic floor that's not working well. Maybe they can stand on one foot for a short period of time, but oftentimes it's impacted. Their
Yeah.
balance isn't as good as it should be. And you'll see their bodies doing all these funny things to try and keep their balance, where it's like when we're balancing, we should be able to be strong and stable and
Right.
have things turning on and holding well.
Yeah. Spent that coordination piece of like
Yeah,
contract, relax,
exactly.
and how forceful the contraction, how long of a
Hmm.
contraction
Hmm.
kind of gives you a window, huh? To
Hmm.
being able to see. Well,
Yeah.
that's super interesting.
Yeah. Yep. And again, we're working on like posture and range of motion too. So we kind of talked about the hammock and how the hip position
Right.
plays into that. And so if they have restrictions in how their hips are moving, if some muscles are
Yeah.
tighter, then we'll do some stretching stuff as well.
Yeah. You talked a little bit earlier about the potty posture. Like what
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen the squatty potty commercials.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm like, it's so fun. You know, when you're talking about a little kid, I mean,
Yeah.
toilets are, I mean, they're really not built for kids. You know,
No,
they're built
no.
for adults, if
Yeah.
half the
Yeah.
population for that.
Yeah, so oftentimes I will recommend like start with that small toilet that's on the ground so kids' feet can be on the ground. But really we want to be kind of in a supported squat position. So that's where the squatty potty or footstool comes into
Mhm.
play. So you want ideally to get those knees a little bit above the
Yeah.
hips. You kind of want to be in like a more of a forward, like more straight back position. We don't want to be really forward or really back, but we want to have a pretty tall back
Yeah.
because that allows our pelvic floor to relax the best.
Mm.
So that's with kids, yeah, the footstool, like I mentioned, and also oftentimes like having some sort of insert, like there's those rings. You can even get toilet seats that have like a fold down part for
Yeah.
kids, but having them so they can have good support.
Right.
One of my favorites is actually like a stool that's like all in one. It's got like the toilet insert with the handles and like a little steps so that you can really have the kid
Yeah.
feel supported. They have something they can hold on to. They can just
Yeah.
feel like I'm not gonna fall. I can fully relax.
Yeah. Like I gotta visualize like the kid like just like fully on leaning over,
Uh-huh.
just
Yeah.
kind of sitting there and
Mhm.
maybe even kind of coming up a little bit, coming
Yeah.
off of it
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
either they just don't trying to figure out like, you know, is this gonna make it come out
Yeah.
or it's
Yeah.
not coming out?
Yeah.
I'm bored.
Or
So
you
I'm
see
just
kids
gonna
who
sit.
like really sink in and their little bottom is like hanging into the toilet, like about to touch the water. I mean, they're like really, they're really bent over. That spine is really bent.
Yeah.
Like that's not putting your pelvic floor in a good position to be
Yeah.
able to get stuff out.
Yeah. Especially when we talked about that optimal relaxation point,
Mhm.
right? Because
Mhm.
and being supported but
Mm.
relaxed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everything can void on out. So
Yeah.
well, that's awesome. So talk to me about other like what kind of exercises do you do for core with kids?
Yeah, sometimes it's really simple movements where you can do any sort of rehab core exercises. So, like, you can do basic things like planks or things like that, but it's about incorporating that breathing. I do a lot of like, let's put kids on an unstable surface or working on like single leg type balance, but doing it within that ideal posture that we want. We're not holding our breath, we're using our breathing appropriately, and we're turning on all of our muscles well. We're not
Yeah.
really gripping at one muscle. And so oftentimes we start like we're not really working against gravity. You're more like laying on your back on the ground, and then we work up into upright positions.
Mm.
But yeah, a lot of like single leg type stuff incorporated with breathing, as well as like a lot of twisting. We want to get like more of the like deeper core, outer core working, not just our big six pack
Yeah.
muscles here.
Yeah. All
Um,
pieces of the jar. The
Exactly, yeah,
can of
and the
service.
nice thing about, like, the single leg type stuff is you're also getting your hip muscles turned on for that as
Mhm.
well, and again, it's about, like, being in that good alignment and, but we kinda have to start with the basics, like, that's why oftentimes we start more on the ground doing things
Mhm.
like that. Sometimes, like, hands and knees, being able to hold that stable position is so hard for these kiddos. So just being there, being on their stomach and having to do different things with their arms and their legs while they're staying nice and strong here and doing their breathing, just being able to do those 2 things together
Yeah.
is really hard.
Yeah. I feel like the core is a really difficult thing to exercise and
Mhm.
difficult thing to teach to
Mhm.
exercise because it's
Mhm.
not so visual. So that's why I
Yeah.
think your tool for the biofeedback is
Yeah.
invaluable. I mean, years ago, I used to work in a spine treatment center. So everyone came in with like back pain. And so
Yeah.
we'd go over like core
Yeah.
exercises and things. And, but it's just super interesting to see how I would say a good share of the population has no idea
Mhm.
how to activate their core. And there's a lot of
Mhm.
core contraction, co-contraction when they do. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
all or nothing. Like it's
Yeah.
just, well, I'll fire everything.
Yeah. Yep.
But in reality,
Yeah.
we want to have some coordination over that. A couple episodes we talked about, like that glass with the bicep, right? Like we
Mm.
just don't like
Mhm.
contract that whole thing and like
Yeah.
shove it up to our face and
Yeah.
then let it go back down to the
Yeah.
ground. But having that coordination of those different muscles with your hips and your spine and your
Mhm.
breathing,
Mhm.
it's like juggling
Yeah.
three
Yeah.
different things. And
Yeah.
so I know a
Yeah.
lot of times it seems like we're just sitting on the floor here
Yeah. Yeah.
and you'd have a straw
Yeah.
and like that's it.
Yeah, I know
But
sometimes it looks so basic, but there's all these layers that you're working on, and you have to start really simple and then build up. And then for kids, making it fun, right? Like, how
yeah,
do we do all that, but also make it fun? So,
yeah.
bubbles are definitely our best friend.
Blowing bubbles.
Yeah, we use
Yeah,
that a lot. And then, yeah, just getting their body in different positions where they have to
yeah, for
work on
sure.
those things.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thanks for sharing your talents there with that mechanical piece.
Hmm.
And I know we're going to explore a little bit more next episode, going into some diet and digestion, because I mean, talk about things coming in, things have to go out. So that has an effect on what's going on. So we'd like to explore that. So stick around and we will dive into that piece of the puzzle. So we'll see you next time.